Welcome to Chapter 7, Volcanoes. In this video, I will explain the meaning of volcano, causes of volcanic eruptions, structure and products of a volcano, types of volcanoes, effects of volcanoes, and important volcanic zones of the world. The surface of the earth is not flat, but is rather unevenly spread out due to the presence of landforms including mountains, plateaus, plains, hills, etc. These uneven landforms are formed and deformed in an ongoing process due to the influence of internal forces operating within the earth and external forces operating on the earth's surface. The internal forces are called endogenic forces and external forces are called exogenic forces. As you can see in this table, the endogenic processes are also of two types. There are slow movements like continent building and mountain building movements, and there are sudden movements, that is, volcanism and earthquakes. In this chapter, we shall concern ourselves with sudden movements only. Sudden movements bring about instant changes on the surface of the earth and hence their name. So, in this lesson, we will study volcanic eruptions as they are sudden movements associated with internal forces of the earth. Let us first understand what is a volcano. A volcano is a vent in the Earth's crust from which fiery hot magma erupts from the Earth's interior. What are the causes of volcanic eruptions? First cause is heat and pressure inside the Earth. Temperature and pressure both increase from the surface of the Earth towards the center of the Earth. Rocks are bad conductors of heat, so the Earth's heat does not escape on its own. Instead, it melts the rocks and builds up great pressure. The pressure forces the heat to find an escape route through fissures and cracks in the rocks. Second cause is plate tectonics. Most volcanic eruptions take place near plate margins. The Earth's crust is made up of a series of movable plates. When two plates collide with each other, this collision forces the denser plate edge to subduct or sink beneath the plate edge that is less dense. As you can see in this diagram, two plates are converging and colliding with each other. This is the continental plate, which is less dense, and this is the oceanic plate, which is more dense. So as the density of the oceanic plate is more, it subducts below the continental plate. As the denser plate edge moves downward, the pressure and temperature surrounding it increases. After reaching a depth of about 100 kilometers in the upper mantle, the rocks are melted and magma is formed. This magma is forced to rise by the enormous volume of gases causing volcanic eruptions. Third cause is magma chamber. The molten material, while still under the Earth's crust, melts weak rocks and creates a huge chamber for itself. Fresh magma continues to pour inside the chamber. This is called the magma chamber. Since magma contains silicate material, gases, and water vapors, the pressure always acts vertically upward. Once a route is found, it rises to the surface. All major volcanoes have beneath them a huge magma chamber or reservoir which is joined to the Earth's surface by a conduit which is known as a volcanic vent. Now we will discuss the structure of a volcano, starting with vent. The lava flows out through an opening in the Earth's crust, and this opening is called a vent. The opening is usually like a circular pipe. So this is the main vent or the conduit. There may be only one opening at the summit, or sometimes because of repeated eruptions, there might be subsidiary vents formed, and these subsidiary vents are called secondary vents, like we have a secondary vent here also. So this is a secondary vent and this is the main vent. Then second part is volcanic cone. The erupted fluid material, being hot, collects around the vent and begins to cool gradually and solidifies. The accumulation of material around the vent gives to the volcano its typical cone-like shape, known as volcanic cone. Products of a volcano: magma and lava. The molten rock material inside the earth is known as magma. When it reaches the surface of the earth, it is known as lava. It consists of many materials and gases. Steam is the most abundant gas that comes out of a volcano. When steam is ejected in huge quantities, it forms clouds in the atmosphere, resulting in rainfall. Other gases ejected by volcanoes include hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, and hydrogen. Then we have the solid matter. The solid fragments are rock pieces known as pyroclasts. The fine particles are called dust. The dust particles go on increasing in size. The small stone-sized particles are called lapilli. Violent eruptions, known as bombs, eject more materials. Now we will discuss the different types of volcanoes on the basis of frequency of their eruption. And we start with active volcanoes. These are the volcanoes which are presently in an active state and have erupted in the recent past. There are at present about 500 known active volcanoes. About 20 of these volcanoes may erupt at any time. A few of these volcanoes are also in a state of permanent eruption. Some examples of active volcanoes are Mount Stromboli and Mount Etna in Italy, Pinatubo in Philippines, and Mauna Loa in Hawaii. Here in this picture you can see the Mauna Loa volcano in Hawaii. Dormant volcanoes. These volcanoes have not erupted in the recent historical period. They are regarded as sleeping and may wake up or become active at any time. Examples of dormant volcanoes are Mount Kilimanjaro of Africa. This is the picture of Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa, which is a dormant volcano. Mount Vesuvius, though regarded as active, is actually rated as dormant because there has been no major eruption since 1944. Many students might know that it is the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD that led to the destruction of the city of Pompeii. Many other volcanoes in Philippines and Japan are examples of dormant volcanoes. Extinct volcanoes. These are the types which have not erupted in the present geological period and are not likely to become active again. Mount Aconcagua in South America, as you can see in this picture, and Mount Kenya in Africa are examples of such extinct volcanoes. Now we will discuss the effects of volcanoes. Volcanic eruptions have both constructive and destructive effects. So we will start with constructive effects. Volcanic eruptions are a sudden force, also termed as constructive forces, which have a number of constructive effects on the surface of the earth. The main constructive effects of volcanoes are as follows. Formation of landforms. Numerous types of landforms are created due to the cooling and solidification of magma below the Earth's surface and lava on the Earth's surface. The landforms created on Earth's surface are called extrusive landforms. These include volcanic plateaus, mountains, and plains, which we will discuss in the next few slides. Volcanic plateaus. These plateaus are derived from lava, which flows from volcanic eruptions. The plateau of peninsular India, especially the northwestern Deccan, is an example of lava plateau. Other examples are South African plateau, the Ethiopian plateau, which you can see here, and the Colombian plateau here. Volcanic mountains. These mountains are built from material ejected from the fissures in the Earth's crust. Volcanic mountains are the most diverse because there are great differences in volcanic eruptions as well as the materials they throw up. Volcanic mountains are common in the Circum-Pacific Belt. Circum-Pacific Belt is the zone of volcanoes surrounding the Pacific Ocean and includes such volcanic peaks as Mount Fuji in Japan. As you can see, this is Mount Fuji. Mount Mayon in Philippines, Mount Merapi in Sumatra, Mount Agung in Bali, and Mount Cotopaxi in Ecuador. Volcanic plains. These plains are vast and smooth, formed by extensive volcanic flooding from volcanic centers. The Western Victorian Plains in Victoria, Australia are the finest examples of volcanic plains. These plains were formed by volcanoes over the last 6 million years, with the most recent eruption being at Mount Napier 7,200 years ago. Over 400 volcanic sites have been found in this region. Here you can see the picture of a volcanic plain with Mount Napier in the background. Caldera Lake. A caldera might be formed in two different ways. Firstly, during repeated eruptions, the summit of a volcano may be blown up. In its place, a large depression called caldera is formed. Secondly, a caldera is also formed when the magma chamber is no longer able to emit sufficient magma. This is because the magma chamber has become empty as a result of repeated volcanic eruptions. And this results in the collapse of a cone either partly or wholly. This depression eventually gets filled with water and forms a lake. For example, Crater Lake in the USA is a caldera lake. It is about 10 kilometers wide and is the deepest lake in USA, as you can see in this picture. This is the Crater Lake in USA. Hot springs. The movement of magma in the interior of the earth heats up the underground water, particularly around magma chambers. When water turns into steam, it gushes up to the surface. Hot springs, known as thermal springs, contain many dissolved minerals. Since hot springs are a rich source of sulfur, they are considered good for health, especially for curing certain skin diseases. As you can see over here, this is a sulfur hot spring, and this is a special area which has been made so that bathers can bathe in this water and get rid of their various skin diseases. Sulfur hot springs at Manikaran in Kulu Valley of Himachal Pradesh are a great tourist attraction. As you can see over here, in Manikaran, there are many hot springs, and people use these hot springs for heating food and also for cooking food, for example, for boiling rice, etc. Geyser. A geyser is a fountain of hot water and steam that escapes when underground water comes into contact with hot volcanic rocks. For example, the Old Faithful Geyser in Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming, USA. You can see the fountain of water coming out. So this is a geyser. During an eruption, its water temperature at the vent has been measured at 95.6 degrees Celsius. And these are great tourist attractions. As you can see, so many tourists are standing and watching the eruption of this geyser. Now, here are some other constructive effects of volcanoes. The lava and ash deposited during an eruption breaks down to provide valuable nutrients for the soil and thus create fertile soil which is good for agriculture. The places that have high level of heat due to volcanic activity inside the earth have higher potential for generating geothermal energy. The dramatic scenery created by volcanic eruptions attracts tourists. This brings in income to the area. Now let's discuss some destructive effects of volcanic eruptions. When the volcanoes erupt, they destroy life and property. The hot lava, together with ash and dust, destroy not only human beings but animals as well as plant life. Agricultural fields are covered with layers of volcanic ash and dust, making them unsuitable for cultivation. Huge clouds form after the eruption of volcanoes, causing heavy rains which result in floods and landslides. Volcanoes also emit poisonous gases which pollute the environment and cause health problems. Explosive volcanoes in ocean islands are followed by high tsunami waves, as you can see in this picture. They flood the area and destroy property, people, animals, and crops. Important volcanic zones of the world, and we begin with the Circum-Pacific Belt. The Circum-Pacific Belt is a major area in the basin of the Pacific Ocean where many earthquakes and volcanic eruptions occur. So this is the region that we are talking about. Here and on this side, all around the Pacific Ocean. This region is a direct result of plate tectonics. In these regions, a continental plate and an oceanic plate are converging. Therefore, these regions are highly unstable and prone to earthquakes and volcanic activity. So, the areas included in the Circum-Pacific Belt are the Andes Mountains area of South America, then Central America, the western part of North America, Kamchatka Peninsula region of Russia, Japan, Philippines, Indonesia, and New Zealand. The Circum-Pacific Belt is also called the Pacific Ring of Fire because over 80% of the total number of active volcanoes are concentrated in this region. Among these are 40 active volcanoes in Andes, over 100 in the Philippines, 70 in Indonesia, and 40 in Japan. The Mid-World Mountain Belt. The Mid-World Mountain Belt includes the volcanoes of the Alpine system and those which are found in the Himalayan region. Mount Vesuvius, Mount Etna, Mount Stromboli, all these famous active volcanoes are found in this belt. The only active volcano in India is found in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which also lies in this belt. The Canary Islands and Mount Kenya are both located in the mid-world mountain belt. I conclude my lecture here. In today's lecture, I discussed meaning of a volcano, causes of volcanic eruptions, structure and products of a volcano, types of volcanoes, effects of volcanoes, and important volcanic zones of the world. Thank you and have a nice day.